We're challenging the weather today, aren't we?
Yeah, well, we're in its environment.
We're in its environment,
Yeah.
yes. What do you mean with its?
Nature.
Nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to have a conversation with you today. Because
Thank you for having me.
yeah, thank you for spending time with me on this subject. Yeah. The subject is Pouakai.
Pouakai, yes.
Pouakai.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm very happy that you helped me to identify Pouakai because I didn't know him, but I did meet him. And maybe, well, you already told me, but maybe we can share again. I'm starting to stutter already. I'm going to have problems with speaking today, I'm for sure, because it's a bit exciting to talk about Pouakai. But maybe you can remind me a bit again about the history of this ancient bird.
Pouakai was the biggest eagle to fly the skies of the planet. And it was actually native to what's now New Zealand, Aotearoa. It's a prehistoric bird.
Mm-hmm.
And some say it grew to 35 kilo. But the stories I was told it grew to 280 kilo. It was a big eagle. And sadly it's extinct now.
For how long do you know this?
No,
About?
this is a long time ago.
A couple of centuries already.
Yeah, well, at least.
Yeah.
We have records of first arriving in New Zealand in 800 years ago, but our stories go back to well over 1,000, 1,500 years ago, so you can talk about its existence a few thousand years ago. And of course it's us that caused its extinction,
Yeah.
mankind.
Yeah. So that's good you mentioned that because I didn't know anything about this bird. Of course,
Not
I'm
many
not-
do.
no, but I'm not from New Zealand. My far ancestor was. We all know, of course, about the dinosaurs and animals like that. And I think this one was very close to this era, wasn't
Yes,
it? Yeah.
yes.
So that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
That this bird lived over on this earth. Yeah.
And it actually survived for such a long time after everything else became extinct. It managed to survive so long. And again, as I said, sadly, because of mankind, we caused its extinction,
Yeah.
which is sad considering what it must have gone through.
So it was not nature who made the species disappear?
No.
Like maybe the mammoth or other animals who probably
No.
by weather but it was mankind who did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes
Its main food source was a bird called the moa. And the moa grew to over six feet tall. I don't know what that is in meters, but that was its main food source. And the moa was an ostrich-like bird. And of course, when we arrived in what's now New Zealand, even though we had a whole range of sources of food, we actually competed with Pouakai for the moa.
Yeah, and the moa is almost as big as a person, right?
Yeah,
If you
bigger.
take the whole, even bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can imagine how big this bird must have been.
Yeah,
I've seen pictures of its claws, which are bigger than my hand. It's very impressive.
yeah. Its claws, especially The back talon was extra large because for its size, Pouakai's wingspan was a lot more narrow than it should be for its size.
For its body and its claws and yeah.
But it was, the reason for that was because it flew amongst the trees to get to the moa. And what it used to do was come down and with the back talon cut the spine to immobilize the moa, and then flew back around to...
So, where do you think it's cut a person? I'm especially interested by this, I'll tell you later, but where do you think, at what place, if it would do this to a man, where would it be?
It would be the spine.
Yeah, and like in the back of the low. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, because stories do say that once we wiped out its food source, the moa, our old stories say it started attacking us. And but of course, we're able to protect ourselves a lot better than the moa. So eventually it died off, which is a shame because can you imagine those, an eagle, a quarter of a ton, flying up there.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
I think people were scared of this bird. Must have been scared.
I believe rather than scared, it became competition. You see? Rather than trying it once again, rather than trying to live harmoniously with it, leaving its food source and gathering food from other areas, like the ocean, for instance, or other animals.
I try to imagine how it is when you're a person living on Earth, like we are, and there's a big bird in the sky who sees everything, because its overview must have been enormous.
Yeah.
So we must have felt very inferior to this superior bird, something like that. That's why competition started also, you think? Or was it just food source?
Just the food source. Yeah, you can imagine if my ancestors saw Pouakai flying around, then my ancestors would think, there's a moa somewhere, we'll go and hunt it.
Ah, right, yeah.
No,
they were using its eyes actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
And of course, once the moa, the Pouakai arrives to see that somebody else has taken its catch, well, it wouldn't be happy.
No, because it's its original food source.
Yeah.
One of those, and for mankind, it should not have been like that.
And when I say, when I talk about hunting our food source, the word hunting, in those times with nature, everything was in balance. And again, because we live both sides at the same time, we eat meat to ground. And to break that balance, what I'm trying to get at is that's how far back we actually started breaking the balance of nature, by taking the food source of Pouakai, for instance.
Do you think this was maybe the beginning?
Could
breaking
quite
balance?
possibly have been the beginning of breaking balance, but I would still say that my ancestors then would have still been in touch with nature, part of nature, and with the balance, of course, would have shown the senses that we actually had use of in those times to be able to compete with other animals for food. And of course with Pouakai.
So maybe it's good to talk a bit about how we came to connecting with this bird. And that's a bit of a story. It's a bit of my personal story, but I would like to have your perspective on it also. As I told you, I've never heard about this bird. We met, we talked on the online summit, and then I visited you and we had a chat and we had a coffee. And then I got home, and I think it was the same evening I fell asleep. And I tend to have these dreams between being awake and falling asleep, and the other way around, being asleep and almost being awake. And at those moments of the night of me sleeping, I have sometimes I have images, but they can be really vivid, like very, very sharp colored. It's like even more vivid than I look at the tree now and at the grass and at the leaves. And they appear when there's like nothing, so everything's black, but it's like the most beautiful black place you can be. I think it's the universe blackness, something like that.
Tohore, yeah.
Correct, okay. And then without nothing, this image appears. And what happens in this dream is that I saw from above, I saw a lot of trees, and from that high place I could see the lines on a leaf on the ground. But I was up there, but my vision went straight back to the ground, and it was really sharp. It happened to me twice, and in between the earth was rumbling and the sky was cracking. Not the other way around. It was like that. And it happened the second time, and the second time I saw this image, I suddenly could feel I was in the head of this bird, because just before I went into its head I saw its eye, and it looked straight through me. Suddenly I was in the head of this bird, and I went with, like, I cannot tell you how fast it went. I was all the way from up there to the floor, and the whole trip, which was in less than a nanosecond, everything was sharp, and our human eye doesn't sharpen that quickly. I blew out of my sleep, and I couldn't stay in my body. So we called, I talked to you, and you started talking to me, and I think we talked about an hour, and I cried for an hour. And you kind of saved me in that hour, because I needed to get out of my skin. The frequency was so extremely high, I couldn't be in it. And the most beautiful thing I found of this experience was that I wasn't scared. Not at all. And that actually scared me, that I wasn't scared of this experience. I only knew that I cannot handle the frequency of the power within this animal in my body, because I sensed it in my body, because I was in its body. So, well, we called, and then you told me about Pouakai, and kind of everything fell into place. So now I'm just telling you again the dream, and I don't cry this time, but maybe you can reflect a bit on it, what I experienced.
Yeah, it's
Why?
you didn't enter its body.
Oh, well, that's how I felt it. Yeah.
It took you into its body.
Oh, that's a better way to describe. Yeah. I do feel it like that. I didn't use the right words. Thank you. Yeah.
It allowed you to see what it sees.
Yeah.
And from then on, if you're in those moments, it's like me with my tribal totems. You call it and ask, may I use your eyes? And it will take you, because that's how it works. Your human automatically thinks, oh well, I entered, whereas it's the other way around. We were permitted to be taken in. And,
it's good that you mention it, because I do feel it like it's it's not something I did on purpose.
Yeah.
Maybe
yeah.
it's me translating from Dutch to English, I don't know, but it's good that you mention it because it's a very humbling experience. And the way you describe it, how it went, is how I felt it, but I didn't use the right word. So that's very good because I realized how humbling it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you'd entered its head, you'd only see things through human eyes.
Yeah.
Whereas it took you into its head and then you looked through its eyes.
Yeah.
And that's where with birds, they also see colours, they see the energies, they see like us physically, but then they also have an ability, it's like taking photos where the click, 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 you have many different photos. They have that ability too, that it just comes,
Yeah.
it's like they're focusing on that one leaf in the forest from 100 meters up.
Yeah.
And that's how they see it. They start focusing onto it.
Because the weird thing was, I was still up there while my view was down there. It's like they, like with this eye, they were able to get the earth up to the
Yes,
sky. It was
yes.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's very, very impressive experience. Yeah.
And like I said before, with its shorter wingspan for its size, as you just mentioned, it actually brought the earth up to you, and that's how it was able to fly so well through the trees in the forest, because it was able to either bring close or demagnify, to make it appear a lot further away, so it knows, it's they're a lot cleverer than us in their own environment.
Yes, if you have experienced something like that and you know this experience from your own background and from your own connecting with your animals, power animals, but I feel pretty stupid as a person actually. I'm in this dense body, in this heavy dense body, and even if I go into trance and I have these visions, it's just far, far, far from this frequency, from this capability of this bird. I'm still, I know I experienced it, but I'm not able to grasp it fully in a way. I'm not able to integrate it yet. I can feel that. Maybe that's why the carving is not out yet. Because I feel that I have to learn to understand a bit better what it is to ask for its power. So I'm not scared, but I cannot overview it yet. The range of it. That's how I feel it right now.
Well, you've made connections, so it's quite simple. Ask it.
Yeah.
Ask it to show you the knowledge, and it will. Whether it's any bird or any animal or any fish, like with Tohore, the albatross. When I asked, may I borrow its eyes? And that's an experience for me, because all I've ever seen when I've used, or I've been permitted to, or been taken in by the albatross to look through its eyes, all I see is ocean. But, from so high up, I'm still able to see the bubbles in the white of the waves, because of its abilities to look. It hasn't taken me under the water yet to show, to look under the water to see where the fish are. But also with Ururoa, the hammerhead shark, asking to use its powers enables me to, in my younger days, to hold my breath under the water for up to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And because he's my protector under the sea. So whether it's Pouakai, the Tohora, or the Ururoa, any animals or birds, it's actually a gift they're giving us, and so your totem would obviously be, one of them would be Pouakai, because he came and got you.
He did.
Allowed you to look through his eyes rather than you going to him and looking through your eyes.
Yes.
Even though that would have been spectacular as well, but
yeah, this was so strong.
Yeah.
I think it would have been the other way around if I would go there in myself. That I would, of course, maybe have a big overview also. But what I can sense now is well, I call it the frequencies of of this bird. I don't know if that's the right meaning, but there's an energy which goes beyond its body. You know, there's like, we have also, of course, our aura, but it's so strongly connected to its environment. That's how I could sense it. That this bird, Pouakai, he just kind of blended in with its total environment and its environment within him. And I was in it, so it happened to me too. But I'm not used. My body isn't used to it. Well, you know, you talked to me for 1 hour, and I cried for 1 hour, and I didn't know why I cried so much. Do you have any idea why it was so?
well, the only reason you've forgotten it is because you haven't forgotten it. You have, you know, we all had that ability
Once.
back in those times, but we've lost those abilities over time as we've made life easier for us. So it's a matter of reopening the doors.
Yeah.
And because Pouakai come to you, he can open the doors. You know, it's a matter of just speaking. Yeah, of course, he's extinct now. And so what we feel today is what we call wairua. Its soul or its essence, not the physical body. But then when he takes you into him, you'll feel the physical body. You may even feel the same as me when I'm looking through the albatross eyes. I can hear the wind and feel the small droplets of rain while he's flying over the ocean. But as everything, it's asking permission first, of course.
Yeah.
And you know, we're coming back to those times where we can regain those abilities once again.
That's how it feels.
Yeah.
That we're invited. That's what I was thinking, Tohore, is like whatever. Well, we'll talk about it later, but I'm going to mention it anyway. We are so busy with everything that's going on, and I keep feeling and saying the only thing we have to do is to look at our animals. They show exactly what's going on at the moment. So just not to go ahead with the subject all the way, Pouakai showed itself. Now it showed itself to me, maybe there are more people, but it showed itself, and maybe, I'm not sure, someone, a good friend of ours, Jan Pieter, I talked to him about it, and he said, well, I think you cried this much because what if that, and you said it also, what if this one you connected to was the last one? So what is this bird then trying to do with what happened to him? Do you think there's a message in it? Well, there is, of course.
Yeah, there's always a
Stupid
message.
question.
But yeah, I was going to say, were they your tears or his? The bushfires in Australia, for instance. All of a sudden, plant life that they thought had perished or became extinct, little animals that they thought were extinct, they're coming back. So what's to say somewhere on this planet is a Pouakai that has come back?
Yeah.
You know, because we have a saying, we call it the forgetting, but we have a saying, we've forgotten what we forgot. And you know, I say again, you haven't lost, it's still in there, we just forgot it, and it's just a matter of remembrance. And one would hope in your case that Pouakai is making you remember, because if you remember, that's him asking for help in some way. He's trying to reach
Yeah.
Whether he's reached others on the planet or whether he's reached you, he's asking for help. And as you remember each thing, or as each thing comes to you, you know, that brings him closer to being with us again. Again, one would hope.
What I feel when you speak about this is that to him it's very important that I'm not scared of him. And that must be one thing that's very important to him, because that was the first thing that I realized. Wow, but I'm not scared. It feels very, very connected. Yeah.
He calls that because he took you into him. If you'd gone in yourself, of course that fear would be there, not knowing how he'd react or what would happen. But you know, he took you in, and of course, so there's no fear. Fear doesn't exist.
But he was like giving full power, you know.
Oh yeah.
But I felt very protected. So trusting that protection, because of that I was able to kind of handle the full power he was giving to me.
Yeah.
Well, my body wasn't sure if I could handle it. I've been like out for like 2-3 days, like having a terrible pain. I want to get out of my skin for some moments, and it came and it went back and came back, and like that. The second time he showed himself, it was even shorter and not as expressive and as intense as it was. I already got a bit familiar to it. And the third time I connected to him. No, well, in between time he was around me, but standing on his feet with and he had a wide chest, really big, like bigger than he was probably, but to me really big. Never flew. And not long ago, like 2-3 weeks ago, I think I told you about it, he started to fly. First time, and he asked me to come along. So he didn't invite me into his body to fly with him, but I could fly with him.
Yeah.
And he showed me a volcano. And I asked you, why a volcano? You know, do you know something about it? And do you think there is something that you can share about it? Is that still already open to share about this volcano?
What did I tell you?
Well, oh yeah, because there was also this man that I met that you know also. I will not talk too openly about it. And then you told me something about the volcano and this person. If it's not open yet, I'll cut it out. You told me something about a certain person coming from the volcano back. Is that correct?
Ruomoko,
I don't remember the name, the words.
the unborn one?
Yes, the unborn one you talked about. Yeah. Can we share this already, you think?
Yeah,
Is this
that's
open to share?
common.
Okay.
When our Sky Father and Earth Mother were separated to allow the light in. Because before that it was Tohore, the long night, the void. When they were parted, Papa Tuanuku, our Earth Mother, was carrying a child. And of course that child was never born, obviously. That child was called Ruomoko, which is our god of earthquakes and volcanoes. But also our connection with volcanoes through the lava tubes are through our taniwha, which would interpret as dragon in Western society. But our taniwha don't fly. They're through in the ocean, our lakes and our rivers, but also through our volcano tubes, our lava tubes. It's how they travel. But as with everything else, you know, Pouakai is your kaitiaki, your protector. Our taniwha are our protectors as well, whether it's protecting an individual or a family or a tribe. So that's
So why did he show me the volcano? What do you think the message would be? Was this a personal symbolic message for me, or was it because to me it feels like he is more connected to what's collectively going on, which is also of course a reflection of what's happening individually. But what's your feeling about that?
My feeling about that is with him showing you the puia, the volcano, to me represents rebirth, new beginnings.
Yeah.
And as we've just spoken a few minutes ago, is there a Pouakai somewhere out here on the planet ready to come back? Because if the plants that we thought were lost are returning, animals that we thought were lost are returning, same with our skies.
I'll think about it. As I told you, I haven't really. Takes me a couple of years probably. Yes, but I do listen and I do hear what you say. So I'll bring it back to the collective energies. Because what I noticed that there are some eagle-like birds that are appearing in the Netherlands. Like the wolf is appearing, which is one of my favorite totems too. But we'll keep it to Pouakai and its family, its species. There are some really big eagle-like birds that are coming to the Netherlands. They're like, you probably have seen it also on social media and so on. And that made me think also, like, this element, this Kaichiaki-tanga, you call it? Yeah? This guardian is showing, Kaichiaki is showing itself. Oh, the other one is guardianship, right? Yeah. So the Kaichiaki is showing itself in several ways.
Of course.
And so why?
And of course, it's like our ancestors are Kaichiaki, we're Kaichiaki as well. But it's very interesting that the Kaichiaki that are showing themselves now are the animal and bird world. Which, once again, what we've just been talking about, they're coming back, as you mentioned, the wolf.
Yeah.
A week before I was to fly here to Europe, a very dear Belgian friend of mine, or ours, she sent me this front page of a newspaper, and she was just totally freaking out. She said, "You've already arrived." Because the front page, I couldn't read Dutch, so I didn't know what the hell it was saying, so I sent it to another Belgian friend who interpreted it for me. I was in Australia at the time, and the article said that for the first time ever, an albatross was spotted flying in the skies of the Belgian skies. So, with my culture, or those of us who know, the year 2017 is when a lot of our changes started coming into play from our prophecy, from our ancient prophecy, not today's prophecies. And the birds especially, Manukōrero, the talking birds, if we listen, they have a story to tell. Then birds also carry messages to us. And so it's a matter of listening now. You said over the 3 days or nights that Pouakai visited, first time was a longer time, the second time was a shorter time. That's seeing it through human eyes.
Yeah.
Because the world he's in and the world where he takes you to, time doesn't exist there. And so what could be a 10-minute dream, if you want to call it that, could actually be 10 years or 100 years worth of learning from him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah. So again, it's a matter of listening. This time, not with your ears, but with your hinengaro, with your mind, listening. But even listening with your eyes, what he'll show you, you know. And eventually the message, it is okay to say, hey, can you make this easier for me?
I've did that.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have to fly. He didn't take me into his body to fly, but I
Yeah.
could fly behind him.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I told him, okay, I'm open to it, but take it easy on me.
Yeah. Yes,
You know,
exactly.
Yeah.
Because especially being seen for the first time in a long time, you can imagine the excitement he would have had.
Full power, as I told
Oh
you,
my
full
God.
power. Yes.
To finally be seen, he'll throw everything at you, sometimes with people to the point where they just can't handle it, they'll close down.
Yeah,
It's just too much.
yeah,
But that's just from the excitement of finally being seen and acknowledged.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, so I did ask, take it easy on me, because it was full power, and I want to say something, it just flew out of my head. must have been important.
he's saying, step aside, I want to talk.
Yeah. No, well, let's see if he has something to say. Well, especially the first thing that pops up is that it's about time. That's why there's, of course, excitement, but it's about time.
Yeah.
And he's kind of been waiting and trying to find its way. Had to be patient. So it's difficult when okay, so it's a very sensitive connection, which has the opposite of a very big power also, and it's it's the biggest opposite in a way. So it's almost like he has to learn to go from its power in this time to connect to a very sensitive place that he can kind of connect with me. I'm scared at that point. Well, as a person, I'm not scared of him, but being that sensitive and vulnerable for me as a person, as a woman, is scary. So
See, that's where he's asking you for help. He's trying to find balance.
yeah,
Although he's all this way at the moment, as you say, about power, and he's asking you for help, and of course being feminine,
yeah,
to bring that balance back. And I guarantee you, once he finds that balance, or once you show him how to regain that balance, he'll take you on beautiful flights.
Well, by asking that to me, he also helps me to find a balance also.
Of course.
Just so I have to be more sensitive about where I can say, okay, just you can come near, or yeah.
And look where we are talking here. We're in nature, and that's the best place to find balance, because the more we try to rebalance or reconnect with nature, the more we're heading towards innocence. See, and
Right.
once we reach that innocence, we reach the balance, the complete reconnection with nature, and that's what he's trying to achieve as well. You know, he's been gone for so long, and he's obviously seen so many changes on what was once his home that he'd find it hard to comprehend.
Yes, and also because of what you said to him, to me he's connected to the fire element, because it's a very passionate,
Yeah.
fiery bird. I see him with this warm brown orange kind of feathers, you know, and he felt he was forced to use his fire, I say his, maybe it's fire, in a wrong, out of balance, in a wrong way.
Totally out of balance.
Yes, and he was, I'm not sure if he had to, because of, well, he had to, otherwise he would have extinct, which happened anyway.
Mm.
And to me it feels a bit like there's a regret about in a certain place in time that there was a decision to use the fire in a way to try to save its species, while there was probably also the knowledge that it would not work out.
No.
And that period in time from when it was forced to do that, that's like there's a gap there.
Yeah.
That's where the sorrow and maybe that's why I cried so much, because that's where the pain and the decision started to use the fire in an aggressive way.
Well, the aggression came in because how he lost his food source.
From aggression, with aggression from
Yes.
people. Yeah.
Yeah, was
Yeah.
not a natural way of losing it.
No.
It was
Exactly.
an unnatural, which would have taken his balance completely out, because it wasn't according to nature, it was according to mankind, who had become disconnected from nature then. So of course, and as we said, he's been extinct for so long. There'd be a lot of pain there, but obviously the healing has already started with him, to have made the connection now, to try and regain his balance. And as I said, that's what he's asking for, is to help him regain his balance, because he left this world, he left this planet, this world with aggression. Because
Yeah. So
know.
it's not a good way of
no,
dying and leaving,
Yeah.
and yeah.
he'd like to come back and regain his balance. And of course, to regain his balance, that's up to us. And of course, that comes back to our problems today with nature,
Exactly.
because of the imbalance we've created and caused to not only Pouakai, but all the other species that have become extinct and are continuing to become extinct.
I think he still sees it, you know, like being there in spirit and still seeing what's happening, what happened to him. It's happening over and over and over and over
Yeah.
again. Yeah. I have a bigger perspective on it now while we talk, by sharing again my experience and your feedback on it, especially when you bring it back to nowadays, because the story I was telling you about my dream is, if you expand it to a worldwide level, it's the same story, right?
Yes,
It's exactly the same.
exactly the same. You know, you look at these, I think it's the South American prophecies talking about the condor and the eagle returning.
And the quetzal is not a bird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's not forget Pouakai.
No, I'm totally surprised. He's been totally out of view. That nobody's, and well, this bird has a view, you know, has an eyesight which is like whoa.
Now you can understand his excitement,
Yeah, I can.
finally being seen.
Yeah. Yes, and I'm happy I didn't get scared, you know. So I'm happy I didn't walk away. And maybe it happened to him a couple of times. I don't know. I don't know why he is looking for me, or why he connected to me. We connected. We have some connection through the fact that I have a Maori ancestor, like in the 1600s, something like that.
Yes.
There's even more to find
Tohora.
out, but I'm not I'm not able to grasp it exactly, but there is a connection. So maybe that's why he's connecting with me. I don't know, but I'm totally surprised by it, and I'm excited too, actually.
It's a lot better to reconnect from that far back than to reconnect from
Oh
today.
yeah, okay.
And
Yeah.
as my ancestors say, there's no doubt he will say, when my ancestors speak, not to look through my eyes at what they're talking about, but to look through their eyes, then I will see what they're talking about. It's the same with Pouakai. If he's going to speak, look through his eyes, not through our eyes, because we're quite primitive. compared to what he can see.
Yeah.
But try telling a human we're primitive.
Well, I'm at the stage now that I'm kind of grasping the fact how extremely sharp and focused this vision is, before I can even understand what it sees, you know. It's just the fact that it's possible to have such a strong and focused vision is, well, as a person you cannot.
Well, like I
Well,
said,
maybe you can, but we're far from it.
yeah, like I said, yeah, looking through today's eyes, you'll see one meaning. Whereas if you look through his eyes, you'll see several different meanings to the one thing he's trying to show you. Which is the many different interpretations of what he's trying to show. And you know, he's got a bigger story to tell than us in our lifetime, our short lifetimes. I often wonder, like the albatross can fly around, right around the globe in an unbelievably short time. And Pouakai was a lot bigger than him. How often he would have flown right around the planet, because in his times there were no freeways, of course. All he would see, no matter where he was flying over around the planet, he'd be seeing this.
Yeah.
Which, as we've spoken before, which brings me to the theory. Was he present here in Europe? You know, because he would have had the ability to fly those long distances.
If he can find me here, he must have been here.
Yep.
Oh, you already knew that. I just have an epiphany. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then, you know, is he closely related, relationship-wise, with the condor and the eagle? You know, because he would have had the ability to fly there as well.
Yeah, I think there must have been like these gatherings, like we do as from different cultures. We are having these gatherings, but they must have been in a connection always. Also,
Of course. Yeah.
yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Pouakai.
Kia ora Pouakai. Thank you. Beautiful.